You will be assimilated. Yes, it's time for episode 3 of Star Trek Picard Season 2. This time we're back with Jean-Luc Picard as the crew prepare to travel back in time to the year of 2024 to fix the future that Q has corrupted and created. This episode is jam-packed with explosive Starfleet chases, Borg Queen freaky moments, as expected, and much more. Let's jump in and see if the third episode is still carrying the momentum that the second season has launched with so far, or does it drop the ball when going to the past? Spoiler warning, we'll be discussing Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 3 in full detail, so if you've not watched the episode or the season yet, turn away now. You have been warned. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get straight into it. The title of the third episode is Assimilation, and is written by Kylie Rosetta and Christopher Monfetti, also being directed by Leah Thompson. And if a director name does sound familiar, that's because Leah Thompson is best well known for playing as Lorraine Baines McFly in the sci-fi time travel classic Back to the Future. In this case we're going back to the past. So what better director than to direct this time travel episode but to star one of the best time travel movies ever. Of course, before we do dive into today's video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here and myself at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for our daily updates on the Star Trek universe, including the latest from Star Trek Picard. As always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you are talking about Star Trek, then we do want to hear about it. Heads up, we're on our way to 100k subscribers. Can you help us get there? We've just passed 80,000. Make it so. Let's first talk about the Confederation as a starting point for this week's Star Trek Picard review. Most of last episode was spent in a future alternate timeline where the Federation is now the Confederation. And we begin where we last left off last week with the Magistrate, the first husband of the Confederation. And he's beamed onto the ship and obviously shot Elnor and has the rest of the ship crew at gunpoint. I have to say that John Boreanaz plays the role so excellently well. He is only here for a short amount of time before he's quickly attacked by the gang and disintegrated by phaser fire. There's even a nice little moment, at least for me, where Seven tries to gain authority as it doesn't work, does it? It just won't work. Authority? Is that how you pronounce it? Authority. Shut up.
You've got
no, I fucked everyone up now.
Authority.
I don't know. Take two. There's even a nice little moment, at least for me, where Seven tries to regain her control as Confederation President. But the Magistrate simply asks, "What's my full name?" Which is hilarious, since even though we only know him as the Magistrate and don't actually know his full name. I have to say that Seven in this episode is really good, and adapts to her environments extremely well. We saw this in the last episode as well, where she quickly assumed the role as the Confederation President, and acted as well as she could, and this continues into this episode, especially when they go to the past. Even though we've only just spent basically a single episode in this timeline, the crew quickly go back to 2024, before title credits even roll, which I guess I'm glad about. There isn't much about the show can do in its future that hasn't already been established in the previous episode, so a good change of pace works well for the episode and probably for the season at the end of the day. Though it is a shame we didn't get to spend more time in this alternate timeline, especially with Evil Picard and his collection of skulls, because that was freaky but cool. Though I have to say I am surprised by how quickly La Sirena was able to dispatch the Confederation ships, with the now Borg controlled ship being able to fire a single shot and knockout, and seem to destroy a Steamrunner and a Nova class starship. I also have to say it was great to see a Steamrunner and Nova class on the screen again. We've been super excited about these ships since we first seen them in the trailers of Picard Season 2. Now, let's talk about Elnor. I am in denial. We thought his death may have been on the cards based off the trailers and teasers of the second season, but we really didn't expect the writer to take this direction with the character. It's a sad moment given how much we've seen of development throughout the first and now second season of Picard. Will fixing the past restore Elnor though? That is a question and one we may have a grim answer for. Dr. Jurati even points this out, as she states that the crew don't know if they're inside or outside a certain time space. Essentially repairing Q's time divergence could perhaps not fix time fully for Picard and his crew. They're likely to be able to remember and experience the events. Raffi's response to Elnor's apparent death makes sense, given we see how much the relationship has expanded in the time between the first and second season of Star Trek Picard. While in a position of authority, oh here we fucking go again, while in a position of power above Elnor as one of his commanding officers, but also appearing as a motherly figure to the boy, something he likely hasn't had full direct experience with given his life growing up as a Qualak Malat nun. Will Elnor return by the end of the second season? Honestly, we'll have to see. I am wondering if they would use the Borg nanoprobes of the Borg Queen to revive him, as that has been known to work in the past, because it's Borg tech and you know it's going to end badly, isn't it? As Picard does point out, Raffi is now emotionally compromised, and therefore too many things could go wrong in their mission in the past timeline. Whether that'll happen, we'll have to wait and see. Let's talk about Assimilation. The Borg stuff this episode was truly amazing. The Borg Queen having a first contact Borg Queen play over scenes was amazing to hear. Before we time warp, the Borg Queen waddling around on the floor using her arms to move as Jurati looked on shock was both funny and scary at the same time. I hate this, it's freaky. But if we are talking about the Borg Queen, the main component of this episode dedicated to this, and also the namesake of the episode, was Jurati assimilating herself in order to wake the Borg Queen and get information about the Watcher. This was truly a different assimilation experience than we've usually seen in Star Trek before. Usually we've seen a body assimilations with nanoprobes and tech sprouting out of her skin numerous times, maybe hundreds of times at this point. But an assimilation of a mind is much more unique and rare. Picard having experienced the Locutus, and even his synth body does not have any Borg tech left inside it now. It's those experiences which help Jurati assimilate herself into the Borg Queen's new collective and wake her up from hibernation. While Jurati is being assimilated, Picard is talking to her subconsciousness, and we experience what it's like when your mind is being assimilated, but by a queen, and a collective that is much weaker than usual. She peers through your mind and accesses emotions and memories, like opening a door. However, while the Queen does this, and we get some freaky shots of Jurati and the Queen fighting over control, their voices switching bodies even. Jurati is actually able to beat the Borg Queen in a virtual game of chess in a sense. With the Queen awoke, we get much more of Alice Krieg style of Borg Queen, with a sultriness to her voice as she negotiated with Picard to get what both of them wanted.
I had the strangest dream. You were there, small companion.
You appear to be more lucid.
However, Jurati was able to steal the coordinates of this elusive Watcher from the Borg Queen, which actually impressed the Queen. A Queen who used to oversee billions of drones, being impressed by someone is very impressive and still freaky. I have to say that Jurati has done so well this season so far, and is one of my favourite characters of Star Trek Picard. However, she didn't manage to get the temporal coordinates of the Watcher, and wants to go back in to find them. Picard won't let her, but I'm sure Jurati will probably try the assimilation technique again in a cocky way, and perhaps get fully assimilated by the Queen, in a sense cocking it up, which will introduce another antagonist into the past. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Jurati is a future Borg Queen. Maybe that future Borg Queen. Crashing straight into the early 21st century is about as how I expected for a Star Trek show. Though where the last Queen has actually crashed on the surface of Earth is unknown so far. If I had to speculate, and of course I have to, I'd say the ship crashed in France, likely near the past version of Chateau Picard, but that is not yet confirmed. A poster billboard can be seen in 2024 for the Europa mission. This mission is later seen on the side of a bus in some of the set pictures for Star Trek Picard Season 2. Q can also be seen wearing a mission patch for the expedition. Perhaps this expedition is the point of divergence and where the timeline changes. Something to do with mission must make the timeline change, given how heavily it's featured and in sort of a subtle sense. Perhaps Adam Soong is a researcher on the Europa mission, and that is where our divergence lies, since we saw a statue of Adam Soong in the Confederation future. We've actually done a dedicated video about Adam Soong and how that ties into the rest of the Soong family tree. It'll be linked in the video description below, go and watch it, or I'll beat you with this keyboard. The opening of our intro into 2024 was fantastic, especially with the use of a familiar song named All the Leaves Are Brown by the Carpenters. If you've been on TikTok in the last 2 years, you'll know that song. I am liking how the crew are fitting into the past, especially Rapid being able to handle the muggle with quick ease and Seven just chilling around the place. Meanwhile Rios, yes of course, managed to beam and fall through a balcony. Speaking of Rios again, I very much enjoyed his interaction with the people of 2024, even if they did sneak a little reference to Rick and Morty in the show. Well done writers, as some of you may be able to draw another Star Trek connection to that. Rios is almost immediately helping those around them, especially the cops turning up to arrest immigrants within Los Angeles. Reminiscent of current events, if I'd say. A small little reference I have to make note of, because it's oh so amazing, is that signs for a Sanctuary District can be seen in the background of LA. For those who might not know, Sanctuary Districts turned up in the Deep Space Nine episode Past Tense, when they also travelled back to 2024, where Sanctuary Districts held poor people to be forgotten and put away by the rich. Time travel as a whole is portrayed very well in this episode. Perhaps that's because Leah Thompson, someone who's well versed with time travel, is a director for this episode. We've also got Kylie Rosetta and Christopher Monfetti writing the episode as well. Christopher Monfetti is well known for working with Terry Matalas, the co-showrunner of Star Trek Picard, on the time travel TV series 12 Monkeys. So we definitely have some time travel experts on our hands here, particularly in the Picard writing team. Time for some closing thoughts. Now as expected, we're already seeing a handful of fantastic references to both past iterations of the Star Trek universe, but also real world events at the same time. Given the time frame for this episode is currently 2 years away from our current time. Perhaps an artist's reflection of current world events in a sense. Did that security guard who confronted Raffi and Seven look familiar to you? Well, he might, if you're a fan of Star Trek Enterprise. Actor Matt Kavinsky previously played the character of Crewman Cunningham aboard the NX-01 Enterprise. It's a nice little connection between both Picard and Star Trek Enterprise. I love it. The character work in this episode was pretty spectacular. Raffi went through some stages of grief after the death of Elnor, from denial, anger, and the bargaining, hoping that by fixing the timeline it saves Elnor, and this was remarkably acted by Michelle Hurd in this episode. Jurati, played by Alison Pill, did an amazing job, adding some levity to a scene which would have been quite dark, being assimilated of your mind, in a very natural and good way. Remarkably similar to what she did in the last episode of Annika 7 Shot, and I think she just gets a lot more to work with from the scripts this season, and she really shines through that. Alright, you can catch Star Trek Picard weekly on Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime Video. You can also catch our weekly reviews and breakdowns for Star Trek Picard as well right here on YouTube. The past is now, well in our case it's very still much in the modern day, so while you're here, make sure to tell us what you think of the latest Star Trek Picard episode in the video comment section below. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Live long and prosper my friends, goodbye.